Hey, Chewie, want to hear a joke? Yeah, you do. Okay, ready? Where are you sure to find Nemo? On the Nautilus. Well, I don't think your jokes are funny. Welcome to Teacup for One. My name is Matt, and I have 2 degrees. Friends, do you know what time it is? It's SEAverse time! As we get closer and closer to the release of the Jungle Cruise film, I am getting more and more excited by the possibility that we could be maybe getting a Disney cinematic SEAverse. Now, if you're new here, first of all, please subscribe to the channel. It's really easy. I'll give you 5 seconds to do it right now. And there we go. But also, if you're new here, the SEAverse is my personal theory that the Jungle Cruise film that's slated to be released later this year is going to be kicking off an epic franchise of live-action adventure films inspired by Disney parks attractions, all being linked together by Disney's secret society, the Society of Explorers and Adventurers, or SEA. You see? Now, if you don't see, and basically if you have no idea what I'm talking about, I highly recommend you check out the latest episode of the We Like Theme Parks podcast, because they may or may not have had a very special guest with a face for radio. It was me. Yes, that's right. This week, I was fortunate enough to stop by my favorite podcast, the We Like Theme Parks podcast, and I chatted with hosts Chris Bond and Mark Andrada all about the secret society of Disney parks, the Society of Explorers and Adventurers. We dove into the history of the society as it exists in the theme parks and links all the attractions together, and I talked a little bit about my hopes and dreams for the society being a basis of an epic franchise of upcoming Disney films. So, I highly recommend that you go check them out if you haven't checked them out already. Honestly, if you like theme parks and if you like podcasts, you will like the We Like Theme Parks podcast. But my reviews, Disney podcasts. Meow. Okay, now back to the SEAverse. Now, as we get closer to the release of the Jungle Cruise film, I think it's important that I look within myself and ask a very important question. Do I actually believe the SEAverse is going to happen? And honestly, I don't know. But whether or not we're getting a SEAverse, this SEAverse is the perfect opportunity for me to just dive into the rich history of Disney parks attractions and Disney parks films and just imagine how they could be brought together. And that's my really fancy way of saying that this video and this series is worth watching even 6 months in the future when the Jungle Cruise film has been released and we actually have an answer as to whether or not the SEAverse is a real thing. So basically, please keep watching. Oh, and speaking of the Jungle Cruise movie, I actually want to take a quick second to give a shout out to one of my subscribers, or at least I hope you're one of my subscribers. If not, please consider it. Shoulder Parrot, who commented on my last SEAverse video with a groundbreaking observation. Ahem. So am I the only one who noticed that the arrowhead in the trailer has A Falls on its label tag? And then my brain exploded. Honestly, I have no idea how I have no idea with the number of times I've watched the Jungle Cruise trailer for these videos how I missed that. But Shoulder Parrot, you have a keen eye, and as far as I'm concerned, this is all the more reason for everyone else to go check out my most recent SEAverse video all about the family history of Albert and Alberta Falls, and my thoughts on how they can work their way into the Jungle Cruise film. Seriously though, I don't know how I missed that. Okay, no, actually, you know what? I do know how I missed that. Because I was so preoccupied with another blink and you'll miss it moment in the trailer. One that I'm going to share with you right now. Ready? Play the clip.
I have a lot of money.
Right? Oh, did you miss it? I'll play it again.
I have a lot of money.
Right? Okay, you're probably wondering, what am I looking at? It's a shot of Dwayne Johnson opening a door, looking at Emily Blunt, right? Well, I want you to read the name that is on that door. It says Nilo Nemolato. And now it just makes me question, who is Nilo Nemolato? Who is this mystery character? Obviously, the office is being occupied by Dwayne Johnson's character, but we know his character is named Frank Wolf. No actor has yet been announced as playing Nilo Nemolato, so it just makes me wonder, who is Nilo Nemolato? Could it potentially be a captain? You know, like a Captain Nemolato? A Captain Nemo? Captain Nemo? Is the next chapter of the Disney SEAverse going to be a 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea reboot? Well, if it's not, it absolutely should be, and here is why. 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea is an 1870 novel written by the father of modern science fiction, Jules Verne, who, according to legend, was inspired to write 20,000 Leagues by a single piece of fan mail from fellow writer Madame George Sand, who remarked, "Soon I hope you'll take us into the ocean depths, your characters traveling in diving equipment perfected by your science and your imagination." And he took that idea and he ran with it. Jules Verne studied a model of the world's first mechanical submarine, the Plongeur, which was on display in Paris as part of the 1867 World's Fair. And he used that to inspire his creation of the world's most famous sea vessel, the Nautilus.
Aren't you glad you're on board the Nautilus, underwater, completely waterless?
The Nautilus would go on to capture imaginations for generations, and now, over 150 years later, it has been immortalized in countless films, TV shows, and novelty tiki mugs. And of course, the novel surrounding the Nautilus is pretty okay as well. 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea has been adapted into a bunch of different movies, but the most famous one is probably the 1954 Disney production starring Kirk Douglas and James Mason. It is the quintessential underwater steampunk adventure. This movie is absolutely beautiful to look at. The acting is outstanding, and it was a pretty big hit when it was released. It won the Oscar for Best Production Design and Best Visual Effects. And you know what? I think it's high time we had a remake. If Disney is in fact planning this epic cinematic universe based on theme park attractions, 20,000 Leagues might not be the most obvious choice to follow the Jungle Cruise, but it's the best one. Now you might be asking, why, Matt? Why? Simple. The key to the SEAverse is finding intellectual properties that work effectively as rides and as movies. So it really all comes down to those two questions. Can it work as a ride? And can it work as a movie? So first, let's answer the question, can it work as a ride? And the answer is a resounding yes, because it has. It does. 20,000 Leagues already has a solid park presence in 3 Disney parks around the world. Kind of. I say kind of because the Finding Nemo submarine voyage at Disneyland is more like a distant cousin to 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, but you know what? They are still related. In the attraction, you enter a submarine which is partially submerged in an actual lagoon, and then you're taken on an underwater tour where you get to see a variety of delightful under-the-sea animatronics. But this is what I'll never understand. The original attraction opened in Disneyland in 1959. Now, that was like 5 years after the 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea movie had premiered to, I think, pretty decent success. I mean, it was nominated for a bunch of Oscars. It won 2, but in spite of all that, the attraction wasn't themed to 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. It was just a generic submarine voyage. So I think the Imagineers realized that this was an epic missed opportunity, because when the attraction was recreated for Walt Disney World in Orlando, it was completely themed to 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. The submarine was the Nautilus. The entire ride was narrated by Captain Nemo himself. Even though the 20,000 Leagues ride in Walt Disney World was a fan favorite, it closed forever in 1994 because of high operational costs and low guest capacity. The version at Disneyland was rethemed to Finding Nemo in 2007. So the big takeaway here is that there's a really mediocre submarine ride at Disneyland, and it is just waiting for a 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea reboot so that it can be rethemed properly. Disneyland Paris's 20,000 Leagues attraction is a full walkthrough of the Nautilus. So all of that beautiful production design that won the Oscar back in 1954, you can walk through that and experience all the different rooms and compartments of the Nautilus firsthand. It's kind of like the Swiss Family Treehouse in Magic Kingdom, but like a lot cooler, because it's interactive, and there's even a part where you're attacked by the giant squid. It's an illusion created by a water effect built into the window and a dry squid puppet on the other side. Just so simple, so effective. Just Disneyland Paris. Then we have the 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea attraction in Tokyo DisneySEA. And like pretty much everything in Tokyo DisneySEA, this is going to be the best thing that you see all week. You know, maybe all month. Maybe all year. I don't know how your year's been. The ride at Tokyo DisneySEA is a fully realized 20,000 Leagues attraction that combines the ride-through concept of Disneyland's attraction with the production design and technology of Disneyland Paris's attraction, and it creates something incredible. You're in a vehicle suspended from above, kind of like on Peter Pan's Flight, so you really feel like you're traveling underwater, and the illusion is really sold with lighting and water effects, and it looks amazing. And it's just so fitting that the best 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea ride in the world exists in Tokyo DisneySEA, because, of course, that's the theme park in which the Society of Explorers and Adventurers were first introduced. So that brings me around to the second SEAverse question. Could this work as a SEAverse movie? Well, we already know that 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea works as a movie. It's been proven time and time again. Okay, but I know what you're all thinking. Matt, 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea is a novel that's over 150 years old. The Society of Explorers and Adventurers is a theme park attraction that's like 20 years old. How could they possibly fit together as a movie? My answer? Easily. Because the Society of Explorers and Adventurers is basically just Jules Verne fanfiction. I mean, just listen to the Society's mandate. The mission of the Society of Explorers and Adventurers is to collect, conserve, and curate valuable cultural and artistic artifacts from around the world and make them available to the public in an artistically pleasing and sensitive manner. It is furthermore the mission of the organization to equip and mount socio-cultural expeditions to discover, explore, chronicle, and protect the artistic achievements of human society, past and present, exalted and forgotten, which is basically the logline of every Jules Verne novel ever. But what's particularly perfect about 20,000 Leagues being worked into the SEAverse is that Jules Verne's story would kind of be the perfect introduction to the Society and its guiding principles. Now, within Sea canon, Disney has created pretty well two types of Society members. They're either driven by morality and they have a genuine desire to share their discoveries with the world in order to make the world a better place. These are characters like Mary Oceaneer or Lord Henry Mystic. Or they are morally corrupt and they want to keep everything that they discover for themselves, for their own personal selfish gain. These are characters like Garrett Reed or Harrison Hightower. Captain Nemo, however, kind of falls in the middle. He is a reclusive genius. He built the Nautilus specifically so that he could completely separate himself from civilization. And in the book, in one of his most famous quotes, he says, "I am not what you call a civilized being. I have broken with society for reasons which I alone have the right to appreciate, so I do not obey its rules." The Disney film, however, really elaborated on a certain element of the character, which is his scientific genius. Disney's Captain Nemo has made a slew of scientific discoveries, achievements, and advancements. I mean, they pretty much imply that he has discovered nuclear energy, which is how he pilots the Nautilus. And he keeps all of these secrets to himself. He keeps all of them from civilization, but not out of selfishness like with Garrett Reed or Harrison Hightower. The reason he keeps all of this to himself is because he feels that mankind doesn't deserve this knowledge. He's worried that if he were to share these discoveries with the world, they would use them to destroy the world. And I mean, frankly, he's probably right. And Disney's film took this element one step further by introducing a plot device that wasn't even present in Verne's original novel. It was the basis of a sequel novel. Anyway, it's that Captain Nemo has his own private island. Castaway Key. No, I'm just kidding. It's not Castaway Key. It's called Vulcania. It is his island where he keeps all of his notes, all of his secrets, and all of his discoveries. And now here's the kicker. This island is an entire land at Tokyo Disney Sea. The land known as Mysterious Island. Like, it is literally Captain Nemo's island. In the park, Mysterious Island is adjacent to the Society's headquarters, Fortress Explorations, and according to the Imagineering backstory, Mysterious Island is the space where Captain Nemo welcomes Society members to come learn and to share in his discoveries. So even though Captain Nemo isn't officially a Society member, he still exists in the canon. And it would be so easy to work the Society of Explorers and Adventurers into a 20,000 Leagues remake without touching the story whatsoever. Okay, now, the Disney film interprets things a little bit differently from the original novel, but in both cases, the reason that Captain Nemo has completely written off civilization is because he had a traumatic experience with a mysterious group that led to the death of his family. Just have that mysterious group be the Society of Explorers and Adventurers, and then you have your movie. Just think, Captain Nemo could have been a former member of S.E.A. He could have been making all kinds of brilliant scientific contributions, but then some kind of betrayal happens that shakes his trust in the organization. It prompts him to build the Nautilus, write off civilization altogether, and take all of his discoveries with him. And with one little tweak, you could even use a line of dialogue from Jules Verne's original novel. I am not what you call a civilized being. I have broken with the society for reasons which I alone have the right to appreciate. So there you go, Disney. I just wrote your movie for you. It's going to be a hit. You're welcome. And you know what, friends? If all of that was not enough to convince you that 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea is probably going to be the next chapter of the SEAverse, allow me to bring in Exhibit B, a Twitter exchange from earlier this year, which reads, for a short time, James Mangold was attached to direct a Captain Nemo film for Disney. He is now working on Indiana Jones 5. I wonder what a new interpretation of 20,000 Leagues would look like. Can the film and attraction be resurrected for a new generation? And James Mangold replied, need I say more? Well, I would like to say more. I would like to say more about the possibility of Indiana Jones 5 being a chapter of the SEAverse. I'd like to say more about how James Mangold could potentially be the one that's been put in charge of helming this epic secret franchise. But all of that is going to have to wait for a future episode of the Disney SEAverse. Because, friends, this concludes yet another episode of Teacup for One. Now, let me know in the comment section down below, would you be on board with a 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea remake? And how much would you love to see the Disney Sea version of the 20,000 Leagues ride brought to the States? Because honestly, that's all I want right now. And if you want to be the first to know when I upload more videos about the Disney SEAverse, or if you want to follow my great movie ride marathon, or if you just want to hear me talk about Funko's, Disney, Shakespeare, and cats, make sure you're subscribed to the channel if you haven't subscribed already. If you haven't subscribed already, you've got another chance coming right now. It is super easy. All you have to do is click on my face. Thanks for joining me again today, everyone. My name is Matt, and I have 2 degrees, and that's the tea cup for one. Go away.